I search within myself, within my traditions. Yes, I have choreographed some of the dance numbers in Manipur, and had some big choreographic work for international, like Shanghai International Festivals. More than I used 300 artists in a choreographic work called Lai Dimacha, means childrens of God and goddesses. Here, all the ethnic people who inhabited in this Manipur. In Manipur, we have more than 40 scheduled tribes are here, tribal peoples. So every ethnic group have its own like rich tradition. So in that choreographic work, I'm just sharing my work that Lai Bacha. That's that I think it's my biggest choreographic work in my life till. So in that Lai Macha means children of God and goddess. I'm just trying to push all the people who inhabited in Manipur with different ethnic. They are the children of the God. Here, this picture means it's 30 or 40 meters long. Back a huge python we call Ibudho Pakhangba. He is the deity of Manipur God. So here, all the this one palanquin that carried by 4 peoples now means is the son of the god of this Pakhangba. I'm just trying to show that one. The next one. Here, all the ethnic peoples of Manipur, that tribals, Maitai and everything, it's this one, what to say, puppet represent in front of their particular tribal costume dress wearing one that represent the ethnic peoples. Next, it's same, all the ethnic, as I mentioned, we have more than 40 ethnic, but in this choreography, what I use only is 7 ethnic groups of Manipur. Just trying to show that Manipur is like a beautiful garden. So all the and this one is the Ras Lila portion that I represent the post-Vaishnavism that we in Manipur we are still that religion, the state religion. Yeah. This is the pre-Vaishnavite that I had explained that one, the Lai Harauba Festival of God and Goddesses. In the choreography work, I use everything. Oh, these are the flowers. Flowers means I represent Manipur. Manipur as a beautiful garden, something like. And in garden, we have varieties of flower now. So each flower represents the group of the people, means its ethnic group. So all together make a beautiful flower, means Manipur is a such place, many ethnic groups are inhabited. It's a very beautiful state. So Shanghai Festival is, this festival is a tourism festival. So I invite the people of the world to visit Manipur. It's a something like, it means it's a, something like I try. Yeah, that's one. Oh, that's my 2019 choreographic. After that 2018 choreographic work of the Lai Dimacha, the government of Manipur again invite me for this international closing function. So in this time also I choreographed a production called Manipur as Jewels of India, something like. Here also I, yeah, just saw the pictures. These are the Nongin birds. It represent the birds of Manipur, Manipur, the state bird.
Fortunately, Kathak has been more liberal. I don't know why it has been more liberal. Maybe because, see, there is a very thin line between Bollywood and Kathak, if you see. There is a very thin line. Little bit here, outside, if you go, somebody will say, oh, this looks like a Bollywood. Mm-hmm. So it's very difficult to draw a straight line and say, okay, iske andar Kathak hai, iske Bahar it's not. So there is very individual, there's a lot of individual liberty that we take. And now the framework or the boundary is not very clear. Because no, as I said, nobody really stops us and, you know, troubles us. Sometimes we present something and we call it like an experiment or an innovation, and sometimes if it's good, they appreciate it. They give you a feedback about what can be improved, but nobody stops and says, no, this is outside your framework. You cannot call it, you know, Kathak. You should stop. No, I haven't heard yet, or I haven't experienced yet. I wanted to learn these languages because I always wanted to become a, you know, polyglot. I wanted to learn languages to get closer to the people. So that's one thing which was very clear in my head. So when I started, you know, taking Kathak, it wasn't very difficult for me to read or write in Hindi. So I won't say there was an extra effort to learn the language. No, it wasn't. It was as natural for me. Even now, today it's very natural. And I speak. Sometimes I think in all the three languages. Sometimes it's Hindi, sometimes it's Kannada, sometimes it's English. Now I cannot bifurcate when my brain starts, you know, thinking in a particular language. I think it just depends on the situation or the work I'm doing. So it's very individualistic.
Non-Manipuri dancing Manipuri, for me it's very good. Actually, my ambition is also like spreading this art form to all over the world. But for the Manipuri, for us, dancing Manipuri dance is not that difficult with the others people facing. Means we are brought up here in Manipur itself. We see everything from our childhood. For us, it's not much difficult. Means that's my experience. When I taught with the other non-Manipuri peoples, actually they have a different culture, they have different food habit, everything is different. So they have to adapt the Manipuri, means they have a lot of, patience to take this art form. So need some technical exercise we have to develop. So that's my experience when I go to Australia now. For those who want to learn the Manipuri, means not the Manipuri one, the non-Manipuri, first we have to do some basic fingering exercise like this, dhenta, dhinten. Before we do the chali, this one, we have to do an exercise of the wrist like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like this. And palm stretching exercise. For us, it's very easy to do like this, the fingering movement. But for use, like this, we have to do the exercises. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Like this, we have to do. And for the torso, automatically, for us, it's very easily, the torso will move like this. But for those learning, for them, we have to do an exercise like 1, 2, 3, 4. Have to develop some movements, some exercises. For tapping one, like we have to do like 1, 2, 3. Have to jump like this first. This is something we need to do before beginning of the dance, actual dance.
There is, of course, there is much to be said for learning a particular dance in its native soil, because it's that soil that's given identity to that particular art form. So when it's taken to somewhere far away, you can see that it's been transposed. That being said, I think I grew up in a culture, being in Malaysia, I think there were at least, if not immediately obvious, there were windows into these other cultures. The flip side to this conversation is in in my opinion, when we're trying to make our dances classical. Then I went to, with Ramliji in Malaysia. By the time I'd gone to Madhviji, I'd seen enough Odissi by that stage. I was in my late 20s, seen enough Odissi to kind of appreciate the idea of what classicism means. There's a real control, there's a real middle central axis to it. The elbows are lifted, there is tension through the arms, the hastas are very, very clear. So you're sitting here and then very, very carefully, without deflecting the hip, you're going din, da, 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 ti, ni. Just the rib is moving. Da, ti, ni, da, 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 ti, ni. So the movement has become very, very carefully curated. Now, having learned it this way, so having learned it one way, and then appreciating these finer details, I remember going back to an instance with Guru Gajendra Kumar Panda, who obviously is from the lineage of Guru Dev Prasad Das, where the style has a lot more folk element to it. He said to me, why are you so stiff? Why are you dancing like you're carrying a bag of rocks? Just let it all go, let it go. So, and it's so much easier. And so this kind of ease in the movement. And of course, he's lived his whole life in Odisha. I mean, he's toured a lot, but he's lived his whole life in Odisha and completely understands. I think he's steeped in the influence of that region in the style. So in my opinion, we are actually more interconnected than we are. And the borders which we create between styles, and between states and between languages are actually artificial, because you know that they change. I have not looked at the Natya Shastra ever. I have a book which kind of references the Natya Shastra. Obviously all the translations are in English, with very, very small excerpts about what, particular explanations about hastas and things like that, Abhinaya. But we've got to remember that the Natya Shastra is a treatise on dramaturgy. It's about theater, and dance is one aspect of it. Again, because this generous Indian spirit of seeing everything seamlessly, that you cannot simply cut this and this is separate and this is separate. It's all part of one whole. And so I have no real hard and strong feelings about the Natya Shastra, except from what I've heard from other people, which I'm using to think about it for myself. I'd like to think of the Natya Shastra not as a textbook which is prescribing what to do, rather it is simply a record of what was happening before.
Firstly, it's the fear of acceptance. Acceptance by who? The field, the dance field. When you want to bring out a story which is not from your mythology, you will use the costumes, the music, which your story requires. Okay, so you might want to branch out from the traditional, this is what it should look like, or this is what it should sound like kind of the mindset, to a little more broaden your horizon and say, I'm going to use this kind of costume because it suits the idea or the dance. Now, when you want to present it in a festival, they will say, oh, no, this is a very traditional festival. I don't think you should present these kind of ideas. We would expect you to bring in, a Ramakrishna, same theme, same old theme. Okay, then what happens? You have to think, where can I present these kind of ideas of choreographies? Should I invest my earnings into it and present it in a festival that I want to, bring it on? Or should I wait for another organizer who can accept this and say, okay, yeah, it's a very beautiful idea, it's very challenging, okay, I will give you this platform in spite of you being booed? Or so I really admire those people who have branched out and done something out of the box, because I have a lot of ideas and theories that I want to present, but still I am scared.
It's really interesting. I mean, the responses from people can be quite hilarious, actually. For my thinking, I'm thinking, what is the internal logic of Odissi? And if you're going to choose a composition to compose in Odissi, then it's got to convey that same kind of logic. It's got to match in some way. Anyway, that's just a prelude to say that regardless of what you do, people will always say, oh, I didn't understand this and I didn't understand that. My experience has been that the compositions which are very lyric heavy, there are a lot of such compositions, particularly in Tamil, which are composed for Bharatanatyam, which allude to, so you're not telling the story of you're not enacting a particular Puranic story, but it only alludes to it in reference to the main poem. And now somebody who has no idea, if you leave a little clue there and if you have no cultural reference to it, they're pretty clueless a lot of the time. So in the past, I've chosen to kind of leave such compositions out if I'm performing, let's say for argument's sake, in a completely Western audience, because I think, oh, it's just going to be too much. I'm going to have to, it'll be a lecture as long as the dance in order to explain what's going on. Then the joy of experiencing the art is gone. But having said that, and now I kind of do a little bit of a balancing act, because I don't want to underestimate my audiences either. I just think it's best just to remain true to the integrity of your art form, and give it its full, give them the full emotional arc which is in the piece. But I think if there's a particular rasa that you're trying to convey, if you're involved enough in your work and you're committed enough in conveying that to the audience, regardless of the outer form that it takes, it will work.
In the temple, we dance for the God, not for the audience. We don't need of any expression. We don't need anything like this. We don't need to show the skill of the movements, the gestures, something like that. But for the audience, for the proscenium theaters, we need to change a little bit. But we should maintain the aesthetics. A lot of differences are there. Look, for Raslila, it's like, as I mentioned, it's 8-9 hours long performance. It's a huge duration one. But now we used to perform for 50 minutes, 30 minutes, even 15 minutes. When I go for the SPICMACAY lecture demonstration in school colleges, if they don't have much time, I used to perform only for 5 minutes also. I maintain that the spirituality of the rasa, the bhakti rasa, in every dance. For Manipuri dance, it should be bhakti rasa.